Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this exciting series between Fnatic and Origin, and this is going to be the end. It is going to be all laid on the line as we are heading to the fifth and final game. Now, throughout this series, we've seen a lot of contention over several picks, one of the chief being Gangplank. Gangplank has shown himself to be not unstoppable, but certainly problematic even when playing from behind. And we'll see if these teams are going to make much of an adjustment over this pick itself, because there's been a lot of contention between both Fnatic and Origin on who wants it. Starting off, we've got a pretty standard ban. Fnatic has banned out this Kalista for the entire series. They really don't want to face this, and they don't seem to feel too comfortable on playing it themselves. Origin are responding with the Shen ban. We've seen earlier Yellowstar showing an extreme proficiency on playing this Shen and really making it worthwhile and making it a very impactful play. So we can understand why Origin wants to keep those out of Yellowstar's hands, as he has certainly been a terrifying and powerful ninja when he has gained it. Fnatic once again taking Kog'Maw out of that ban, aiming towards the AD carry picks of Niels and even keeping that possible mid Kog'Maw out of the hands of Xpeke. They don't want to have to play around an extreme amount of poke so far. While Origin choosing to take out Elise, certainly an impactful jungler who has really shown her strength in this series. Origin's made good use of Elise themselves. They don't want to leave it up and let Fnatic maybe get that first pick on her. She was very impactful in that last game where Origin tied up the series and brought us to our final match here, as Fnatic finish off their bans with a Varus, once again keeping that poke out of the hands of Xpeke. Varus definitely showed a lot of issue for Fnatic in that first game of this series, where Origin was finally able to take the first defeat on Fnatic in quite a few many games. And Origin rounding out their bans with a Sivir ban makes a lot of sense. A lot of AD carries have been targeted through this banning phase, and Sivir has been a staple in this banning phase. She is so difficult to deal with and a very strong team champion. So we see that Gangplank has once again made his way through the banning phase, and we'll see maybe Fnatic wants to try and scoop this pick up. A very powerful pick that they might want to throw on to Huni, see if we can give him a second shot at it. Huni certainly didn't look like he was perfectly comfortable on the Gangplank pick itself, but he showed a fair amount of skill with it, and of course keeping it out of Soaz's hands is a very important thing to think about while doing so. But they are shadowing this Lulu pick. Lulu has made her appearance in every game so far through this series, winning 50-50 so far, so would not be surprising if they do lock it in. A very flexible pick. This could be a top lane Lulu, could be mid lane going over into Fabiven's hands, or perhaps even going down to Yellowstar in the support if they want to keep her as flexible as possible. Origin currently thinking about what kind of power picks they want to respond with. They've got the next couple of picks. We see Janna being shadowed, possibly going for a little bit of a more defensive laning setup early on if they're going to even show a thought process towards that. Now, once again, Gangplank is open. Soaz has shown a lot of proficiency on that champion and a lot of strength with it. Would not be surprised to see him being snatched up in an early round. But it seems that they're looking towards thinking about picking up this Tristana, who's been very impactful through this series. Janna does get locked in. Tristana follows suit very quickly, so we have our bottom lane set up for Niels and Mithy. Tristana and Janna. Tristana certainly showing a lot of strength throughout this series, and even showing a lot of difficulty for these teams to deal with when facing against her. She has been able to just hop from one victim to the next in a couple of these games, so we'll see if Tristana is able to continue such impactful play. Now, Fnatic's got their choices of counter picks over here. We see Olaf and Kayle kind of being shadowed. Kayle maybe not the best pick in the world. Olaf still being there. Corki does get locked in, and Olaf does make his appearance onto the Rift. Now, Janna is known for being very good support at peeling off enemies from her AD carry, but Olaf does not care about peel like that. And not only that, we have this combination of Olaf with Lulu, so when this Viking hits his Ragnarok, he's going to be running at maximum speed at whatever target he chooses, whether it be that Tristana or possibly even another damage threat, but absolutely nothing will be stopping Olaf once he decides to close in and lock down on that target. Very strong combination coming out over on the Fnatic side right now. Origin thinking over their picks, and Gangplank still definitely up there, still impactful. On top of that, Azir has been left up. If we take a look at the bans, Azir has been left up. Azir was banned in some of the earlier games here, known for being very impactful. Xpeke does have a very good Azir, and it looks like he is going to take it. Azir being locked in for that middle lane. Meanwhile, we've got we've got Agragas being locked in, more than likely for Amazing in that jungle. I highly doubt Niels is going to take the AD carry Gragas. That would be kind of weird, although interesting. So, Azir and Gragas, it looks like scaling is the name of the game when it comes to Origin. They currently have some very late game oriented champions. Gragas does scale very well into the late game. Azir, known for doing an extreme amount of consistent damage as the game goes on. Janna being able to protect them, and Tristana, of course everyone knows, does get very powerful as the game goes on. So Origin looking to lock in this late game. How are Fnatic going to respond to this? They have a pretty good mid-game composition going on so far. Will they choose to try and pick some scaling to face off against them? Or are they going to lock in Rumble and Annie and commit all in on this mid to early game pressure? Fnatic have locked in a very powerful early to mid game team. The Lulu being able to empower this Olaf and give the extra health and shields for these early to mid-game team fights, Annie to set up some stuns, and even Rumble himself. All very powerful champions for this mid-game composition that Fnatic have running for them. This is a lot of good synergy and a lot of very powerful team fight. Even if they start falling behind early on, their team fight is going to be extremely powerful just through the nature of the kits of these champions. And Fnatic are going to have a very strong team fighting composition until about the 30 to 40 minute mark, where Origin will start to hit that late game stride. Fnatic should be able to outfight them and should be looking to make a lot of early game presence. Origin once again shadowing through that Gangplank pick, and it looks like Soaz is going to get that Gangplank locked in for him. All in on the scaling compositions, says Origin. Fnatic, you may have your early to mid-game fight, but if you are not able to close this game out, Origin is looking to scale as hard as they possibly can into the late game. All 5 champions, very powerful scaling, getting just more and more powerful as the game goes on. And looks like we have been locked up completely. We have the Fnatic early to mid-game team being set up, probably looking to take some objectives and get that early lead, while Origin has a very powerful scaling composition. And I can't stress enough just how important it is for Fnatic to get something done throughout this mid-game, and in order to really shut down Origin from accelerating their own process or from stunting Fnatic themselves. And here we go, we are beginning to load the game up towards the 5th and final game of this series as the coaches shake hands. This is it. This is the game for all the marbles. Everything is going to be laid out here as we move on to the finals of the EU LCS Summer Split. Fnatic versus Origin. And honestly, this game is going to be super exciting. It's almost impossible to tell who's going to win. Fnatic have been handed their first couple losses by Origin, and the crowd's going wild. They're all ready to see this. I hope everyone is ready to see Game 5 and find out who will be the EU LCS champions for Summer Split. And now our game begins, everyone's running out, and we don't seem to have any early shenanigans coming out from anyone here as we load up onto the rift. Everyone taking their time walking into these lanes, setting up a little bit of vision for themselves. And nobody's really going to be able to accomplish any sort of deep wards at this moment, nor any sort of invades, as everyone has decided to split themselves across the map. But we do have a slight Fnatic gathering here in this bush. They're going to chase down against Amazing, back him off a little bit, get a couple of wards down a little bit deeper into this Origin jungle, and have an idea of perhaps the jungle route that Amazing may be deciding to take. Yeah, they have a lot of deep wards down in this jungle. As you can see, Fnatic want clear coverage all throughout that red side of the Origin jungle. So, if any movements are made by Origin, Fnatic are going to be able to scout this out rather quickly. And we actually have a lane swap being initiated by the Origin team. Niels and Mithy heading towards the top lane right away. Fnatic will be spotting this out due to that ward up in the top lane, right up in the Krug camp. They're able to spot as Niels walks through there towards the top lane. So they do know that this is going on, and they're going to be able to respond in kind. As Yellowstar walks up, has that stun charged up, gonna be a little bit annoying. And gonna get two wolves! Yellowstar secures himself a nice little chunk of change and a little bit of extra experience, and even a powder keg on top of it. Yellowstar being truly annoying, walking into the enemy jungle like that, stealing a little bit out of the pockets, right out of the pockets of Soaz and Amazing, right from their faces. Mithy's walking over towards the middle lane, but Fabivin is pushed back a little bit far, playing very passive, taking a lot of trade damage from Xpeke. Azir is one of those champions that has got a lot of lane bullying potential for himself, so we'll see how well Fabivin's able to deal with the early pressure from that Azir. And it looks like our lane swaps are going to be working towards that fast push method. Amazing doing a little bit of low health jungling, but there's the smite. And Tristana is actually amazing in these lane swap situations. Using her E, the explosive charge there, she's able to push down these turrets so very quickly. So we'll see if Fnatic, taking their fourth member, Amazing is not joined Origin, so we'll see if Fnatic with 4 members will be able to match the pushing speed with that explosive charge that Tristana is able to put out. And not only that, but the Trial by Fire passive for Gangplank on Soaz is applied to turrets as well. They have 2 different very powerful turret pushing skills, and oh, the explosive charge doesn't finish off the tower. Soaz takes 2 hits from it. That's unfortunate. And not only that, it doesn't bounce back off of the tower either. That's a huge mistake on the side of Origin, and Soaz is left in a very difficult predicament. Huni does get the bounce perfectly off the tower. This lane's going to be pushing in towards his own direction. Well, Soaz kind of has to try and push that wave a little bit for himself, but he's not going to be able to do so in time. Reckless has already made his way towards that lane, and Soaz took quite a bit of damage from those 2 tower shots. You see him recalling right now, right away, and that mistake does cost Origin a little bit of the early game laning phase. That will slow down their ability to scale into this game, and that's the kind of thing Fnatic really wants to see. They want to see these early mistakes from Origin. They can capitalize even on a very slight gold difference, a very slight positional difference. Fnatic can capitalize with their team. They have a very good setup for catching out their opponents and really punishing these kind of mistakes. See Xpeke pressuring Fabivin here in the middle lane with that very quick push from Azir as he continues to use those sand soldiers to his advantage. And we have Yellowstar and Rainover down here at bottom lane. Yellowstar's kind of hanging back in the bush, just in case, perhaps expecting some sort of dive onto these players, but nothing really to come of it. And an axe catches on Niels. Rainover pops the ghost. He's chasing down. A flash from Huni. Flash is burnt by both Niels and Mithy as they try and run away from these players. A flash in from Yellowstar. Stun onto Niels. Exhaust down onto Huni, but Niels is still going to fall through it all. Teleport in from Soaz. He puts down a lot of damage. Finishes off Yellowstar. Mithy trying to kite away from his opponents. The keg explosion, I should say, is going to slow down Rainover. Rainover's barely going to die. Huni almost overcharged. He's going to back off a powder keg into the wall. He's going to fight Soaz. Soaz has to eat an orange. Soaz able to get the triple kill! Holy moly, Soaz was able to get the outplay and the last bit of damage onto Huni with that parlay coming off right off cooldown right at the end. What an insane play! I can't believe that! So we see Huni here, able to flash in and gets the flash of both Mithy and Niels. And they know no one else is coming, so that at worst, we've got this 3v3 situation where Soaz shows up a little bit late. So naturally Fnatic think they're going to be able to win this, but Mithy kites them back into this powder keg for some extra damage on Rainover and the reset on the passive for the trial by fire. And at this point, Huni's waiting for his cooldowns to come back up, and unfortunately for him, he ends up being overheated and unable to use any electro harpoons or a scrap shield on top of that flame spitter. And Soaz wins the trade in the end as parlay comes right back off cooldown. And while Gangplank had a bit of a rough early positioning in the game, that triple kill early on in the game, within the first 6-7 minutes of the game, is really going to accelerate Gangplank, put him in the fast lane for becoming just a terrifying threat on the map. And amazing up here to secure the Gangplank's position up here, make sure that Soaz is safe as he farms a little bit further up in his own lane, make sure Rainover isn't able to get a 2v1 onto him. So this is problematic for Fnatic. If there's one thing that Gangplank does, it is damage when he has some items, and getting an early 3 kills like this is going to be very unfortunate for them. We'll see Amazing is actually running up through the lane right now. We'll see if perhaps Huni gets a little bit overly aggressive. Rainover is also here. Could this be a 2v2 setup? Huni pulls the trigger. He throws out the equalizer, the flame spitter onto Soaz. Cannon barrage is called down on top of Huni's head. The flash body slam is going to finish off Huni, and Soaz will be chased down by Rainover with those undertows. And geez, action is happening so fast around the map right now, even I'm having a little bit of difficulty comprehending everything and speaking properly. Sometimes it's hard to articulate yourself when you're so dang excited over everything. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? The crowd was supposed to cheer there. I guess they aren't with me here. But that shutdown on Gangplank will slow him down just a little bit. He did only get an assist on there, as Amazing was the one to finish off Huni, so did not get that extra gold bounty for the kill. So Gangplank not at full speed right now with that death there, but I'm sure Soaz is perfectly fine with trading that kill. As we see Xpeke building that stinger, looking towards that Gnasher's Tooth rush for the extreme push speed that Azir offers for him through that mid lane. We can see that the tower has already taken over half of its health and damage from the pressure that Xpeke has been putting down, and Fabivin really struggling in this lane, sitting almost 20 CS behind Xpeke right now, who is just dominating this middle pressure right now. So we'll see if Fnatic are able to make some sort of play towards this middle lane, maybe help out Fabivin a little bit, because this is a little bit lopsided in that middle lane. Rainover donating a ward under the tower, trying to get a little bit of vision down onto Soaz, see some lane movement, make sure Amazing isn't sitting back there. Perhaps setting up a sneaky gank onto Huni. And we've got a couple of pings coming down onto middle. Hooney's making a rotation towards that area, and Rainover is standing there as Fabivin comes back to lane. This looks like a possibility of a gank onto Xpeke, but I don't know. That's the problem right there. Azir is able to do a Shurima shuffle using those shifting sands to just easily escape a gank from the likes of Olaf, who doesn't have any CC other than the slow from that undertow, so not necessarily the best champion for ganking onto an Azir, at the very least. Blue buff being handed over to Xpeke so that he can continue this this very aggressive lane pressure that he's been sending. Hooney going all in on Soaz right now. Equalizer gets pulled down, and Soaz is going to have to flash out of it before he's chased down by the Flame Spitter. A lot of counter damage does come down onto Hooney from that cannon barrage, but he was not forced to use a flash or anything, so Soaz will be down on that flash for the next while. And we are getting towards that middle game area where perhaps we'll see Fnatic making a couple of team plays, maybe working towards this dragon sometime soon, as that is certainly a very popular objective for these mid-game centric teams to try and take for themselves, to get the small buffs and the little damage increases that they can get from the dragon. And if they're not able to have their way, they can really take that dragon buff and try and accelerate it to a 5 dragon situation against their opponents. It's a very good backup strategy to have, especially when you're looking to force fights in the mid game, like Fnatic's team should be looking to do. Dragon is certainly one of those objectives that can force your opponents to make a move. Oh, it looks like Hooney's going to cut Soaz off a little bit, and we've seen that Hooney is finished off this Zhonya's Hourglass for himself and has been really dictating the pacing of this lane between himself and Soaz so far. Despite Soaz having that early game start, Rumble is very powerful throughout the early to mid game, so Gangplank, who is looking to scale and starts off a little bit weaker by comparison, having a little bit of trouble dealing with that Rumble pick. Amazing does make his presence known up top, but Rainover is over here as well. In fact, the Equalizer is going to come down onto Soaz, and Rainover is going to pop the Ragnarok. Soaz trying to run for his life, but a Disintegrate from Annie's going to lock him up, and Yellowstar showing up at the right time to burn Soaz to the ground. Xpeke, in the meantime, able to push down this middle lane with that insane pressure that he's been putting down for the entire duration of this game. Fnatic choosing to pressure this top lane with Rainover and Hooney in response to Xpeke pushing down that middle lane, evening up the turret score right away. And Xpeke starting off the dragon while Rainover's off in top lane. Looks like Amazing's going to show up as well, and this dragon should easily go over to Origin. And while Yellowstar is off roaming elsewhere, Origin's pushing down this bottom tier 1 turret as well, and they're going to get 3 objectives for themselves. Fnatic lose out all across the map overall on this. A dragon, 2 turrets in the hands of Origin, and Fnatic are not going to be able to take down this inner turret here. So very questionable value for Fnatic compared to Origin, who are now up a turret and a dragon for themselves. Xpeke's recall gets delayed a little bit there. Fabivin being a little bit cheeky, able to use that Glitter Lance through the minion wave there. 3 members of Origin being able to show up towards this middle lane, handed the liberty of it, seeing as all of the tier 1 turrets have been destroyed by Origin, so they have really freed up the map in the space that they're allowed to move themselves, and they've dictated the pacing of the map movement itself, because now Origin are very free to roam around throughout the entire map, and they're free to even put themselves all in the middle lane to defend it if Fnatic try and make a push there, considering that they don't really have to worry about a tier 1 turret anymore. We see that Soaz is working very close towards that Trinity Force. He should be hitting it relatively soon. A very large power spike for the Gangplank. And his opponent, Huni, picks up a needlessly large rod on top of this Zhonya's. I love this build. And, oh wow, we have Reckless catching Niels out by himself, and Niels is going to get dropped like a rock so fast. Cut off by Fabivin as he's trying to run through the Fnatic jungle. And Reckless put down so much damage so quickly, nearly 100s to 0s Niels on his own. Fabivin just coming to pick up the pieces of what was left of Niels as he was dragging his sorry carcass through the jungle there. Reckless showing off the power of this this Trinity Force spike on Corki. Another blue buff handed over to Xpeke so that he can continue clearing out these mid lane minions very quickly. And we actually have an initiation from Yellowstar onto Xpeke, but he is able to cleanse off that stun from Annie. Tibbers was unfortunately not enough for them, and a large zoning ultimate coming down from Soaz to prevent the Fnatic dive onto Xpeke. It may have cost him both of his summoner spells, but Xpeke does get out of that relatively unscathed even. Not only did he escape the gank, but he escapes it with nearly all of his health intact. So I'm sure he's very excited about that, able to keep his blue buff for himself so that he's able to move over to the jungle and continue farming exceedingly fast. 180 CS already on Xpeke, beating that 10 CS per minute mark that you usually that's really ideal for a farming champion like Azir. He has not only achieved it, but exceeded it and blown it out of the water, hitting at 186 here. Math is power, boys and girls. Yellowstar looking to get a couple of deep wards into this Origin jungle, get a little bit of vision, and uh-oh, Huni setting up for a chase down onto Soaz. Rainover heading down as well. Soaz is going to get some powder keg blasts off there, but Rainover pops his ghost. This is a very fast Olaf. Soaz trying to teleport himself out, and the damage is not there. Soaz with the very heads-up teleport play gets himself out and keeps himself alive, avoiding that gank there. We'll see if now the shining light here for Fnatic is that Soaz does not have teleport up for himself. We'll see if Fnatic try and make any sort of cross-map plays with their own teleport advantage, as Huni does have his. See a few members of Fnatic trying to pinpoint this Azir, this middle lane Xpeke, who has just continuously avoided any sort of ganks and deaths that could possibly come his way. Shurima shuffling his way out of there with the shifting sands anytime that some sort of pressure comes his way. Very expertly employing his own escape mechanisms. Niels hiding off in this corner of the world as watching Reckless farm from the bushes. Is he setting up a gank? No, he's just admiring Reckless's very, very good farming technique, as Reckless has beaten him in the CS lead here between the AD carries. The CS war is being won by Reckless, so perhaps Niels was just admiring. And we have a large grouping of Fnatic champions here. The Equalizer coming down, and the Emperor's Divide does nothing to stop Rainover as he pops Ragnarok, and he is chasing down everyone. Mithy going to be finished off by Reckless under his own tower. Fnatic pick up 2 kills, sorry. Fnatic pick up 2 kills and the tier 1 turret for themselves, and even make a rotation right over to Dragon as it spawns itself back into life. They're going to be able to they're finally able to kill Azir. Xpeke finally falls and is unable to escape one of these ganks, as this is the first time in a while that they've been able to capitalize on him not having summoner spells ready Speaking of which, Niels may have both of his summoner spells ready, but this is 2 members of Fnatic. He is able to flash over the wall and keep himself alive. Huni going golden with the Zonias, but that is not going to save you. Niels keeps himself alive with the use of his summoner spells. I was actually expecting him to die. I was expecting them to not matter whatsoever. But the backup from Amazing and Soaz, very good. We've got a replay of that mid-fight there as we see Reignover runs right through the Emperor's Divide. Reignover on Olaf does not kneel down to any Emperor, completely ignores Azir's ultimate, and chases him down as he burns slowly to death from the Rumble. And we've got Reignover and Yellowstar helping Reignover out, really working as a good buddy. Remember, always, if Top Gun taught me anything, it's to always stand by your wingman, and Yellowstar has been really by Reignover's side anytime that he does any sort of aggressive moves into the jungle. Yellowstar has really been able to walk hand in hand where he needs to be. So they get a little bit of deep warding done, a good counter jungle onto that red buff, and we've got the buddy system working out well for Fnatic. So right now, we've actually got a very slight gold lead for Origin, regardless of the kill advantage for Fnatic. We see that they're farming very efficiently, and a big part of that gold lead is going to be looked at by Soaz and Xpeke, who have a fair CS lead on their opponents. And not only that, but Soaz has been getting a large number of these silver serpents for himself, which are going to really empower that Cannon Barrage ultimate of his as the game goes on. So Origin really sticking to their game plan so far and scaling with the game. As long as they haven't fallen behind, they're really looking strong in the game. Speaking of which, Soaz putting a lot of split push down bottom. Fnatic poking at Baron, but they're going to be seen out by this blue trinket from Tristana. So it seemed like Fnatic might have wanted to do a little bit of a Baron sneak, but unfortunately they got spotted out. But Soaz, taking advantage of Fnatic being on the other side of the map, does get the tier 2 inner turret in favor of Origin, and Origin take a little bit more of a gold lead. They're looking very well right now for themselves. Fnatic starting to lose the battle on this scaling war for themselves. They are certainly sitting at a precipice where their team is very powerful, though, and their team fighting capabilities are extremely strong. Niels not quite caught out. The Cannon Barrage and the Buster Shot pushing Forbidden away from him, keeping himself safe. And being able to use those Sand Soldiers, Azir clears out the pink ward on the other side of the Baron Pit from a very safe position. What a strong mechanic for himself. Seems a little unfair at times, but we see that Xpeke does know how to use his Azir very well, as he picks up a Death Cap for himself on top of that Nashor's Tooth. So he is looking all in on this scaling capability. The Death Cap really going to boost up his power. He's not going to have any defensive capabilities for himself, so he's going to have to position himself very well to avoid getting locked down by the likes of Yellowstar or taking too much damage from, say, an Equalizer or some reckless missiles. And every member of the team is here for Fnatic, I should say, as they initiate a fight onto Amazing, and a beautiful Equalizer comes out from Huni in order to cut off the escape route. Not only cut off the escape route for Amazing, but cut off the entrance from Xpeke. But Soaz, in the meantime, is pushing down to this tier 3 turret in the bottom lane, gets a lot of damage onto it. Fnatic are committing to Baron. Cannon Barrage comes in from Gangplank, and a teleport is coming in from Soaz. Origin are looking to fight this. Fnatic finish off the Baron. They're looking to get out of there as fast as possible. Let's see how many people get out. Huni has gone golden, but he's going to be killed. Reckless putting down some poke back onto these opponents. He is able to Valkyrie over the wall and get himself out. And it looks like only Yellowstar and Huni have been sacrificed for 3 members to take the Baron buff on themselves, and SOAS did not finish that tier 3 turret in the bottom lane. It's still standing up. The inhibitor has its defenses for itself. Fnatic take a big win there. Let's take a look at this again. Yellowstar gets a very good 2-man stun there, and xPeke just drilling damage into the Fnatic team, but unfortunately the rest of Origin are not quite there on the same page to get the cleanup on Fnatic, who took a lot of damage while they were sitting there, as Azir just kept pounding damage into them with his Sand Soldiers. I'm surprised so many members of Fnatic escaped, to be honest, but Amazing was not quite alive at the time, and Origin did not want to overcommit themselves, so Fnatic with the Baron buff looked to secure this next Dragon buff for themselves. And SOAS coming in, popping some powder kegs in their face, but all that's doing is helping to speed up this Dragon take for themselves, and we've got a turnaround from Fnatic. A ton of speed up coming down from them, and Origin's just going to decide to run away, keep themselves out of harm's way. Playing a little bit of a passive game, and we've got a split push. Niels and Mithy pushing down this middle tier 2 turret, taken down very quickly. Yellowstar's recalling for Fnatic, and we've got a split push situation, a base race situation. Niels and Mithy pushing down this middle inhibitor turret very quickly. Fnatic being repelled from the bottom side. They're looking to run away. Reckless putting down so much damage. SOAS is going to be finished off by Fabivin. Reckless chasing down, flashes up into the Azir. Is xPeke going to fall? He gets taken down by the rocket, the last rocket. Amazing backs off, barely lives. 2 members fall from Origin. Fnatic defeat the defenses of Origin, are going to be able to take down this inhibitor. Meanwhile, Huni and Yellowstar chase Niels and Mithy away from their own inhibitor in the middle lane. Fnatic draw first blood on the inhibitor race and maintain their own lane presence, saving their middle inhibitor. Not only that, but taking the blue buff and the dragon objective as a consolation prize on top of everything. Not even a consolation prize, just an added prize on top of everything. Fnatic coming out ahead in all corners of the map right now. Origin set back a little bit. They're going to have to deal with this this bottom wave pressure. Currently sitting SOAS down there. He does have that global presence for himself with the cannon barrage while his teleport is down, just in case anything might happen. But Fnatic pull the trigger and really make a very strong mid-game push for themselves with that Baron buff. And it looks like they're setting up middle to try the same trick twice in a different lane. And we'll see if Origin are able to repel them in this case. You see, xPeke doesn't have any summoner spells for himself, so this could be a very dangerous position, and he's going to choose to use those shifting sands to back himself away, and they're going to surrender this tier 2 turret for Fnatic right now. Origin choosing that discretion is the better part of valor right now, as they allow Fnatic to continue their tirade across the map. Once Fnatic get going, these guys really don't know how to stop. They just continue pressuring from one piece of the map to the next as they slowly sweep their way from turret to turret, and they're looking sight set on this tier 2 turret in the top lane, looking to take down the next inner turret and secure their own map position. And Origin, once again, playing very passively, sitting themselves back very far. Fnatic, once again, being handed the turret on a silver platter. Origin not looking to fight. And to be honest, it's completely understandable. Fnatic are spiking in power right now with their mid-game composition, and Origin are still looking to scale 1 or 2 more items for themselves. Equalizer comes down onto xPeke, kind of just forcing out a little bit of a panic situation for Origin. And nothing really comes of it. No big deal. Equalizer's on a relatively short cooldown. Huni will have that back up in time for the next fight, undoubtedly. So using that equalizer just as a little bit of a zoning, a little bit of poke. And we'll see if Origin are able to make anything happen relatively soon. To be honest, it seems like they're just looking to try and defend themselves, slow down this Fnatic push, and continue scaling into the game. The late game is their focus. If they maintain their goal for this game and drag it out to 40 to 50 minutes, Origin should be able to come back from this early deficit that they're facing against Fnatic. They really need to just keep the game slowed down, watch their positioning, and we see them doing that very well for themselves so far. Baron coming up in another minute. Fnatic getting a lot of deep wards down in this jungle, trying to perhaps find a pick-off if any member of Origin wanders a little bit too far into one of these bushes, where Huni and Yellowstar they're playing the buddy role right now, and they're looking to burn anyone that happens to walk by. Mithy, oh, the trigger is pulled! A flash from Yellowstar into Tibbers, and Mithy gets disintegrated by Huni and Yellowstar so quickly. Niels being chased off in the wrong direction. Your team's the other way, Niels. This is not the area you want to be in. Reckless shows up as... Whoa! Reckless shows up as well, and Niels is deleted from the game even. He died so fast, I'm surprised he didn't get kicked from the game. And we see Fnatic looking to secure their second Baron of the game. Niels and Mithy currently dead. Mithy does respawn, but without Niels available to output that damage for Origin, it looks like they're going to hand this over to Fnatic. Once again, choosing to try and stall the game, try and slow it down. Unfortunate pickoffs on the side of Origin, securing that extra Baron for Fnatic, and now the pressure once again is going to set in from this team. And we'll see if Fnatic want to run maybe a split push style. I'd love to see a 4-1 style with Huni pushing in one lane and the rest of Fnatic pushing in another, splitting off this Origin team and using his teleport to do so. And it looks like that is Fnatic's game plan. They're sending 4 members down the middle lane, putting some damage down into this turret. They do have a cannon minion for themselves. Very long-range sieging, and Niels takes a lot of damage in these trades, trying to push Fnatic back slowly but surely. Origin do clear the first wave here, but Fnatic did get about a quarter of that turret's health on that first wave, actually all the way up to half of that turret's health. Do excuse me, I didn't expect them to get quite so much in one push. And Fnatic once again setting themselves up for another push. Huni does have a relatively nice wave coming his way, so we see the members of Origin have to move over into this bottom lane to deal with that. And Reckless splitting up over towards that top lane. Level 17 for himself. Probably very close to level 18 at this rate. And actually, if we take a look at his progress bar, he should be hitting level 18 off of that wave, maybe one more for himself. Third dragon being secured by Reignover and Fibiven. So Fnatic will get that move speed buff across the board for themselves, further compounding the problems that Origin are having, which is just Fnatic cover ground too fast and keep killing them. Cannon Barrage trying to cut off the escape route of Yellowstar and Huni. Huni takes a fair bit of damage right now, but Origin choosing not to go in, choosing not to fight, as Fnatic do have all 5 members here, and it would be a little bit difficult. Xpeke putting a lot of damage down on Yellowstar. Yellowstar's very low right now. The poke coming out from Origin. Repel Fnatic one more time. This Baron buff currently about to end very shortly. And it looks like Origin have held. Reckless getting a lot of coverage over there. Emperor's Divide does stop his advance. Yellowstar Tibbers is going to be able to take down Xpeke as he has put himself a little too far forward, and Fnatic finally take down this inhibitor one more time for themselves. And not off of the back of a Baron buff, but off of the back of a very forward-positioned Azir from Xpeke. It was just a little too far forward for his own good, and Reckless punishes him for it, putting down insane damage very quickly. Fnatic have 5 members in this middle lane. Origin do not have their Azir for poke and for wave clear. The Equalizer comes down across the back. It's not going to do much damage to the members of Origin, but it will clear the wave very quickly. Huni forced to go Zhonya's right there. Turn himself golden. Flashes away. Fnatic are in full retreat mode right now. And they're able to get out a couple of flashing red health bars there as Origin repel Fnatic one more time. But the damage has already been done. They've already lost their inhibitor in the bottom lane. Once again, that lane will be automatically pushing towards them. And Soaz will very likely be the member put onto permanent wave clear duty. Blue buffs being secured by Forbidden. And if we take a look, this Lulu has a very strong build for herself, choosing to go with this Luden's Echo for herself as opposed to the Lichbane. Used to be a very common staple on Lulu, but Luden's Echo, a very good replacement itself, does give a large movement speed boost passively, and that extra burst damage across the board, along with wave clearing capabilities. So looking like a very efficient pickup for Lulu. We see a Quicksilver Sash has been picked up on Niels here with Tristana. And I suppose that's mainly in order to combat the stun coming out from Andy. Cannon Barrage going down onto Huni to try and slow him down, but unfortunately for them, Lulu is there, and Whimsy is a very powerful movement speed boost. Soaz zoning off this Fnatic team, who are looking to collapse in from the side. Shurima's Legacy put up. Origin does have a very strong sieging capability right now, and they're going to take this middle inhibitor for themselves, evening the inhibitors out, but Reckless split pushing in this top side. The split push Corki is working. He's putting a lot of damage down onto this inhibitor in the top lane. Fnatic will not be stopping any backs, but Reckless secures the inhibitor before Origin can make a response to it. And while Fnatic do lose their own middle inhibitor, they respond in kind by taking a top inhibitor, and Fnatic once again maintain their lead in the lane pressure. 2 lanes now automatically pushing into the base of Origin. They have to pay attention to 2 different waves of super minions throughout the bottom and the top lane. 1 more minute until Baron spawns. Fnatic pressuring this map like crazy, making extremely good decision making, and really moving across the map very well, very efficiently. We'll see what kind of move they're moving towards next. Yellowstar keeping these wards up, keeping a lot of vision down in the red side jungle of Origins. He has just been living a second life in this jungle. Yellowstar was born a jungler, but he became a support throughout his life, and that is why he is always drawn towards this red side very clearly. Fnatic setting up a death bush for themselves. Will any members of Origin walk by? I highly doubt it. They're a little bit busy dealing with these waves, but Fnatic have accomplished their main goal. They have canvassed the red jungle with wards. There is not a single step Origin can take through that area without being seen, and Fnatic Cannon Barrage comes out, but I highly doubt that Reignover's going to miss a smite against no opponents. Baron number 3 secured by Fnatic, and the only lane left to push is this middle lane. Fnatic can taste victory in their mouths with this 3rd Baron buff. 2 waves pushing top and bottom into Origin that they have to pay attention to at all times as Fnatic push themselves towards this middle lane with 5 members and a Baron buff in tow. This is going to be a very difficult hold for Origin. They have to make this hold. If Fnatic are able to take down the third inhibitor of this game. I can't see any way Origin can make their way back into it. They have to make a hold. We'll see how well they do so. This cannon minion has to be dealt with. That's the main problem when it comes to these Baron buffs. The extreme range on these cannon minions, it just makes them so difficult to deal with. Fnatic playing it slow. They do have time to allow these waves to push up. The bottom inhibitor has respawned for Origin. That's the last wave of super minions that are going to pop in. Fnatic making a rotation, though. All 5 members of Fnatic have made their way bottom. The top lane's pushing in for Origin. They're going to have to deal with that soon. Trying to deal with Fnatic right now. A lot of damage comes down onto Niels. Ragnarok is popped. Reignover choosing to run in. Reckless takes a lot of damage. The cannon barrage is trying to cut off the retreat. Reignover. Ragnarok is ended. Equalizer comes out. Explosive Cask bumps Reignover back into the team. Xpeke living with the skin of his teeth. The Emperor's Divide cutting off all advance of Fnatic, and Xpeke gets himself out. Huni is picked off. Origin have held the Fnatic push with Baron yet again. Astounding play by Origin, perhaps a little bit of an overly aggressive play on the side of Fnatic, but Origin play it perfectly and keep Fnatic from being able to advance through their base. They secure their own inhibitor. Fnatic are going to have to settle for another dragon. This is the 4th dragon for themselves, so we do have that aspect of the dragon as a possibility for Fnatic to pick up in the next dragon spawn. Within 7 minutes, they could have an aspect of the dragon, possibly using that to close out the game. Right now, Origin, playing on the back foot, really have to continue. They have to continue to spot out the Fnatic movements and respond to them perfectly, because if Fnatic take one more good fight, one more inhibitor goes down, then Origin are going to just slowly be strangled out of this game as Fnatic slowly take everything. Very methodically moving around the map so far. 42.5 minutes into this game, Origin they're hitting the late game, but Fnatic have gotten... They're not even at a huge lead. They're at only 1,000 gold lead, but Fnatic's movements around the map and initiations in these fights have kept them ahead for so long in the game that Origin still are playing on the back foot, still are put in a position where they have to try and scale even further into the game, slow the game down as much as possible, because Fnatic keep beating to their own drum and forcing Origin to respond to them. Tibbers over the wall onto Xpeke. He has no summoner spells, and he gets deleted by Huni and Reckless. Reignover chasing down into Niels. He has the Ragnarok popped. Nothing stopping him. Ragnarok does fall over. Undertow slowing Mithy. A double kill for Huni. Niels gets picked off. A triple kill for Huni. Amazing is stunned down. He gets taken down by Yellow Star. Soaz is the last member up. Fnatic have all 5 left for themselves. That's it. That's the game. Soaz is going to have to pull off a miracle in order to stop 5 members of Fnatic. Huni is recalled and teleported back in at full health. Fnatic not even paying attention to these turrets and their damage, pushing into them. The first Nexus turret has lost over half its health. The minions are pushing in. The minions will be here to help Fnatic right now, and Soaz is being locked down and taken down. He gets a counter kill onto Huni, but Fnatic end the game 20 seconds before anyone respawns, and the Nexus is taken down. Fnatic have done it. Fnatic are the EU LCS champions, taken to a game 5, taken to the final game against Origin, and Fnatic are able to close it out in a heart stopper of a game. And Fnatic showing great sportsmanship to the only team to really show any sort of strong competition to them throughout this entire split. The first team to take a game off of them in 6 or so weeks. Origin show great heart, throw up an amazing set, but Fnatic take the game. And Fnatic are the Summer Split EU LCS champions. Fnatic are going as the first seed to Worlds.